So in this video, I want to break down exactly how I would scale a brand new agency from 0 to 100K MRR as quickly as humanly possible. I think I could get there in 3 to 6 months. Now, the agency I've picked to scale is an email marketing agency simply because there are so many of them out there. So there's a good chance that this applies to you watching this. But this would apply to any agency selling a high ticket service over $2,000 a month to a B2B client, okay? We're going to go through the offer that I would use. We're going to go through the funnel that I would use. We're going to go through the exact ads that I would use. In fact, I'm going to script some ads out right in front of you here today, live. Go through the email sequence that we would use to make sure that we get high show up rates. I'm going to go through the sales sequence that I would use to make sure that we're closing at least 20% on cold traffic. And then I'm going to go through the exact fulfillment customer journey that we would have to make sure that at least 1 in 3 of our clients are upselling and we're getting a high client LTV in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is George. I operate an agency called Paid House, which in 2025 did over $1.5 million in revenue. And we scaled exclusively with paid ads and kind of a productized service. So I think I'm relatively qualified to walk you guys through this today. So let's jump in. Now, first things first is the offer. So what offer would I run in 2026? And this may surprise you. I've put forward a pretty in-depth offer training on this video. But to be completely honest with you, I think with this kind of a business, we want to go super simple, okay? I don't think we want to get cute with the offer. I think the whole goal should be to accept that we're going to have a high CAC, because if you aren't aware, e-commerce email marketing, well, specifically email marketing for e-commerce, which is what most email marketing agencies do out there, is very, very competitive. Okay, so what that means is really all we need to do is just accept that we're going to have a high CAC. Okay, we're going into a sophisticated market. There is a lot of competition. We need to just accept that our CAC literally is probably going to be about $4,000. Okay, we're going to have a high cost per call, and you might be thinking, oh, this sounds horrible, but in reality, it's not. The maths works completely fine, because the nice thing about these businesses, an email marketing business, is that you typically have a very high LTV. Your service is very sticky. Everyone needs email marketing, and once you're paying for email marketing, you're almost guaranteed to get good results, unless you absolutely suck at what you do. But the ability to get someone results from this service is very, very easy, and so you're able to get a very good lifetime value, which means that you're probably going to be walking away with an LTV of $40,000. Okay, let's say that you charge $4K a month, which is a pretty reasonable amount to charge, or even $3,500 a month, something like around those lines. It's not unheard of to have a 10% or less churn rate. Okay, so your clients are sticking around for 10 to 12 months. Okay, so basically what we just need to do is we need to be willing to make this trade. Okay, and a lot of agency owners and business owners would struggle with a CAC this high. They want to be seeing a CAC of $2,000 or below, but that's just kind of what we're going to deal with. Now, the plus side of dealing with this on an offer like this is how simple it is. Okay, we're just trading money now, a little bit of money now for a lot of money later. Okay, if we can just stack, let's say 100 clients as quickly as possible, then obviously not going into churn or anything like that, theoretically we're going to have $400,000 a month of MRR, okay, if we're charging $4K a month. And so basically it becomes a game of how quickly can you spend $400,000 on ads. So if your CAC is $4,000, how quickly can you spend 100 times that on ads to get to 400K MRR? Of course, in this video, we only want to get to 100K MRR. So we only really want to acquire 25 clients at this 4K a month range. And so then it's just a question of how quickly can we spend 25 times 4, which, if my maths is correct, is going to be about $100,000, of course, on ads. Okay, but obviously, how can we do that profitably? How can we ensure that we are getting this CAC and obviously no higher? Because as soon as we start getting higher, we are going to get into some trouble. But yeah, so this is going to be the offer. We're basically going to go and say, hey, something along the lines of, we're going to make sure that your brand makes 30 to 40% of its total revenue from email marketing, or hey, we're going to contractually guarantee you that we'll make you $50,000 to $300,000 a month from your email marketing, something along those lines. Some big outcome that these brands want, a pretty ambitious time frame. Okay, now it doesn't have to be 90 days, but I'll tell you why it is 90 days in a second here. So we'll optimize towards 90 days. Obviously, we want a strong part where we're saying, okay, you're going to be able to do this, or we're going to do this for you, which will mean that you don't have to spend more on ads for the client. You don't have to hire an expensive internal team. You don't have to sign a long-term contract. So you're going to list out all of the things that they will not have to do when they work with you, which is typically that's where people's minds go. I'll show you when we actually write out the ads that we're actually handling objections even in the ad. Okay, so before we've even had the prospect get to the sales call, we're handling objections. So we want an objection handle here, and then we want to roll into pricing, which, as I mentioned, is a retainer and some kind of guarantee. You don't have to run a guarantee, but I like it. I like being able to have it there to say in the ads, hey, we guarantee this outcome. It's just a lot of good clients won't even mention that on the sales call. So you can probably even have a version of the contract that has it and a version of the contract that doesn't have it. And if they don't ask about it or talk about it, you send them that contract. And if they do really want it, then of course you can send them the contract with the guarantee. Okay. Now, let's move on. So the funnel that I would build is a VSL funnel, okay? So basically we are sending traffic from obviously an ad, which we're going to be running on Facebook, to this VSL page. So the VSL page that they land on is going to look something like this, okay? And of course, what you want to do is you basically want to take the components of the offer that we've just made and put them together, and that forms your headline. So it will be something like, okay, e-commerce brand owners, if that is your niche, we will make you 30 to 40% of your brand's total revenue from email marketing in 90 days. That's the headline. And then the subheading is so that you don't have to spend $1 more on ads or hire an expensive internal team. So headline is the offer, subheading is what they do not have to do, what they get to avoid by working with you. Okay, so that's how you structure that. There's going to be a button below on this page, which is going to basically say sort of start now, book a call now. And then when they hit that, they're going to go to an application. They're going to fill out the application with some really important criteria that we include in there. So, we want to make sure that we're diverting unqualified leads, we're optimizing towards qualified leads, etc. And then they're going to be able to book. Okay, so within that application, there's going to be a booking page embedded that they get to if they are qualified. And then, of course, once they book, you're going to have a sales call. Okay, now make sure when you're filming the VSL, okay, and the VSL is going to be, firstly, make sure that it's 5 to 10 minutes long. Okay, because that's how long you've got in B2B to grab someone's attention before it goes. Even, I would say, if you can, err on that 5-minute side. All right, that's kind of how long I like it. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make sure it's extremely direct, okay? You can make this VSL essentially like a sales deck, okay? So what you would go through is, you would have some kind of maybe slides, and you would go through, and there would be obviously some sort of bold headline, okay, which is the offer that we've just talked about. And then the next slide is going to be some kind of, example results that they can expect and some proof that you've generated. That's something that you want really early on in the process. Then you want to go into maybe, the problems that they have. So some of the problems that they may have and some of the problems that may have gotten them to click on the ad. I'll show you how we kind of list those out in a second here. But some of those problems, how your process is the solution. Okay, so you want to go problems, process, and then you want to go ahead and dive maybe into even more social proof, even more case studies. You might want to also make a kind of dig at why other solutions that they've tried before won't work, so that your solution is really pivoted as the only thing that they haven't yet tried. Even if you are doing a service that they've tried before, your unique mechanism, your XYZ method. So for example, I would come up with a name for this. So it would be like, I don't know, the extravagant email marketing strategy, some name, some unique mech that I would basically make the centerpiece of my VSL. And then from there, you're basically then dropping the price in the VSL. So you're actually revealing the price, and you're going to have these little sort of chapter marks in here. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, where people actually can skip to the thing that they want to find out about. They're seeing the price, you're dropping the price, because we're in B2B here. We don't want to waste anyone's time. We want to make sure that they understand the price. You can even put the price in the application as well if you feel like you're getting too many unqualified leads on the call. And then you basically want to go ahead and obviously encourage them to schedule down below. Okay, you can also answer a few FAQs in there as well. So that's kind of the VSL structure that I like. Okay, we're looking for, as I said, pretty much we're going to be having about a $400 cost per call. Now, we're not going to be looking at cost per lead here because we're not doing an opt-in. So we're sending people straight to the VSL page. There's no name, email, phone number below or before. So we're sending $400. So we're expecting a $400 cost per call. We're expecting 10 to 15% of people who hit this page to convert into who watch the VSL to convert into a book call. It's more going to be sort of 3 to 5% of people who just hit the page actually go ahead and book, but 10 to 15% of people who watch the VSL book a call, and then 3% of lead to close ratio. So again, we're not looking at leads here, so ignore that, but 10% booking to close, I think that's low. I think it should be around that 20% mark. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so you're going to basically have ICP call out on the actual page. You're going to have a headline, a subheading, a VSL, a button to get started, maybe some logos, reasons they should get started now. I think that should go straight under the VSL because we want to encourage as much urgency as possible. So for example, for this offer, we would have, cut your ad spend significantly. You're able to cut your ad spend significantly once we implement this process. You're able to get massively increase your profit margins. You're able to build a more sustainable business. You're able to lower the risk of just depending on ads. There's a few things that we want to go into. A couple of case study videos and then some FAQs and of course like a legal disclaimer at the bottom. It's a really short funnel. Okay, you don't need some long, extravagant funnel. I think the non-negotiables for this funnel are just some reasons for them to actually get started, like why they should actually even bother. And then some case study videos and some FAQs. I wouldn't have your whole process and really long form funnel because that distracts them from watching the VSL. Okay, if you don't have a VSL, then you may want to do all those things. But if you do have a VSL, having a super long form funnel, they're just going to scroll through it. You know what I mean? And we want them to actually watch the VSL. So it can even be as simple as VSL, get started button, straight into case studies. You can literally just axe all of this. Obviously, as soon as they start scrolling onto the case study videos, they're going to be like, okay, cool, this is there if I want to watch it. Let me go back and watch the VSL. We want to be seeing sort of 20% play rates on this VSL, okay? Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. You can absolutely scale a funnel if you're not getting that, but that's kind of the average that we want to see, which sounds low, but that's just how the reality is in B2B. Only 20% of people that land your page are actually going to watch your VSL. So then let's jump into creating the ads, okay? So here are the two things that I look for. So firstly, the hook structure and then the body structure, okay? So the hook structure should follow an ABC framework, which is audience, then benefit, then curiosity. So for example, the call out is, obviously the audience here is going to be, 7-figure e-com founders, let's say. And then I'm actually going to build out, a text wall here. So we actually write the ad together. So 7-figure e-commerce founders. And then the benefit, how would you like to have 30 to 40% of your brand's revenue come from your email marketing? If you would, keep watching, right? So we've got the audience, so the 7-figure e-commerce founders. The benefit, how would you like to have 30 to 40% of your brand's entire revenue come from just your email marketing or come from just sending a few emails a month? That's a nice one. I like that one. Curiosity then is just basically almost making a CTA to the rest of the ad. So if you would, then keep watching, all right? Or if you would, then listen to this, okay? So that's an important part. Then we get into the body, okay? So I love writing this stuff. Firstly, we want to give the offer. So this is a direct body. I like filming and creating direct offer ads. Sometimes I see a lot of agency owners that are doing super broad ads. They're doing customer testimonial ads. They're doing statics. They're doing super indirect videos. Where it goes down an angle of telling a story or something. No. Let's just, before we get into any of that faff, let's just make some direct offers here. All right, let's just shoot off some cannonballs and see what we can get. So basically, starting with the offer. So if you would, then keep watching. Basically, the offer is going to be, my team and I will come into your email marketing account and build out and again, you can have your special mechanism here, our XYZ system. Okay. Then we're going to then tie this back to some quantifiable outcomes so that you can profitably add 100K to 200K a month in profit to your brand without, spending $1 more on your paid ads, right? Now we can jump into something like a belief break here, which I like to do. So I would say, most brands think that the only way to scale is to spend more on Meta ads year after year, all right? But the smart founders are spending less on Meta and squeezing more out of their email list, traffic that they already own, all right? So that's a belief break there because, again, cold traffic is going to have a whole host of objections that they're going to have, okay, and beliefs that you're going to need to break. They're going to think stupid things like, oh, email marketing doesn't work, or, the only way I need to scale is with ads. So you need to kind of break those beliefs down. And then we want to jump into the mechanism. So I know you get pitched by dozens of email agencies, but we do things differently. my team and I will build your brand, and then it will go, you'll go into like 13 welcome flows. We'll send 20 emails a month. And then you kind of break down your actual like deliverables. You want to do that in the ad, and you want to also do that in the VSL as well. That's important. And then we did this for X client and got Y results. So I would state probably like 2 case studies there. And then I would objection handle again. So I would say they took the leap and started paying more attention to their email list. And this is what happened. Or actually, I would make it topical. Obviously, it's a new year right now, so people are thinking what they want to do in 2026. So I would make it topical. I would say, don't make 2026 another year where you give Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, if you don't know, all of your profits. It's time to give your email list the attention you know it deserves. All right, so if you want my team to come into your ad account and build out our XYZ system, then just click learn more below, watch the video and book a call. Something like that. So that's kind of how I would structure a ad. And when I'm getting started, I look to really start with a batch of 20 different ads. Okay. So what I would do here is I would basically come up with 20 different hooks, an even split between pain-based hooks and outcome, or a split between pain-based hooks and outcome or desire-based hooks. So you can even do just an even split, 10 of pain and 10 of the outcome. And in fact, you can just inverse, you can list 10 pains and then just inverse them, and there you've got your 10 outcomes. And then I would keep the body for the most part the same. I might change, for example, so I would keep this the same. I would keep more or less this the same. I would just kind of change 1 or 2 things so that, I'm relating back to the hook. So for example, I would keep the case study stuff the same. I would keep this the same. I would keep this the same. I think what I would actually change is this. And I would say, my team and I will come into your email marketing account to build our XYZ system. And of course, if the hook is more about pain, so hey, 7-figure e-commerce founders, don't make 2026 another year of barely scraping by or something like that, or barely being profitable. I make sure this bit here, which kind of ties back into the hook, says something that reflects that. Okay, so we want to make sure that we tie the hook and the body together, but obviously we don't want to come up with 20 like completely unique bodies, because that's just way too much work and it's just going to delay us in our ability to launch and start testing. So that's how I look at ads. Now let's jump into emails. Okay, so ironically, emails for an email marketing agency. We basically want to have a sequence of 9 emails ready to go once someone goes ahead and books a call in, so that we can make sure that they actually show up. All right, so I like to follow this sequence here. So email number 1 is going to be a welcome email, which kind of just details the offer, so details the guarantee, restates the offer, makes them aware of the time frame, and of course has a couple of case studies of brands that have been through this offer and gotten good results. That's not necessary, it's just preferred. Then we want to go through and obviously have some kind of a core question. What I mean by this is answering a core question that a prospect is going to have. So for example, core question number 1 might be, how is this different from everything else that I've seen? Okay, and then you would want to jump really into your unique mechanism. Core question number 2 might be, is this actually going to grow my brand's revenue, or am I just marketing to existing customers? And then you would explain how that works, basically. And then email 4 should be an expectations email, so what they can expect, not only from the call, but from the service. Email number 5 is going to be a specific objection. So a specific objection might be, I've tried this before and it didn't work, or something like that. And so you're going to want to handle that. Email 6 is going to be a worst case scenario email. And what I mean by that is, what is the worst case scenario of working with you? Literally lay that bare for the customer to see, so that they can make an informed decision whether this is something that they want to buy, right? So the worst case scenario is for this offer that we work together for 90 days. We send out X amount of emails to your list. We don't achieve your 30 to 40% total revenue from your brand's email. And so then we refund all of our service fees, okay? And all we've done is just sent high quality emails to your list, which has obviously nurtured them and at least caused some sales. It's an absolute no-brainer, really. So the worst case scenario is just very, very low for them. Then some kind of a roadmap or mechanism email. So again, explaining why your process is different. A second layer question or objection. So what I mean by second layer is basically just something that's even deeper than what we initially covered. So just going deeper into that. Okay. So again, handling another objection. And then finally, email number 9 should be a recap or urgency email. So, recapping everything that you've covered so far and then adding in a little bit of urgency. Hey, we only have 6 client slots left this month, or 4 client slots left this month. So make sure, really looking forward to our call, making sure that we're putting that urgency in there. I think that's a big reason why people aren't buying or may not be buying from you, is that they just do not feel enough urgency to buy, okay? And that is a marketing problem, in my opinion. It can also be a sales problem as well, but yeah, you should really twist the knife so much that they just have to talk to you, they have to get on a call with you, and you position yourself during the sales process, which brings us on nicely to the sales process, to be the only solution for them. Now, I haven't gone too deep here into sales, mostly because I'm a big marketer, and my belief is that if you have fantastic marketing, your sales will just sort of slot into place, okay? Because you should be selling these people before they even get on the call with you. One thing that I want to kind of specify though, which I brought up earlier, and why the time frame is 90 days, is because we want to actually really optimize for quarterly payments, okay? And so, most agencies, you're not really having like these sort of high ticket 10K offers, which can make ads kind of hard for you. Well, guess what? You can have those offers. It's just that you basically take your monthly fee, which is going to typically be 3, 4, 5K a month, could be as high as 10K a month. But you're taking that monthly fee and then you're just basically making it quarterly, adding a big discount on, and then also a gift. So giving them a reward for paying in full for the quarter, okay? This is going to massively increase your revenue, and you should lead with this. So don't be like, hey, the price for this for the next 90 days is going to be, let's say your retainers 4K a month. You would basically go 12K and then you'd maybe make that 10K, right? You slash off 2,000 from the price. So you'd say the price for this next 90-day period is 10K, and then you would shut up. And then they would like blah, 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 blah. And of course, if they've got a real big objection to that, you can sell them into monthly, but we want to optimize for quarterly payments. And you can mention, hey, if you do pay quarterly, then you're going to get, an extra 4 emails, right? Over the course of those 90 days, which is like, oh, that's cool. And then during the sales call, okay, again, I'm no sales expert. I have closed millions of dollars, subtle flex for my agency and my consulting business, but this is really just all I do. So I set the frame for the call. So, hey, in today's call, we're going to explore exactly what it is that, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, going to find out more about your business, and just going to make sure that this is a good fit, right? Basic framing, they're going to agree to that frame, they are going to agree to that agenda, and then you want to jump in and pretty much always start with the first question as, hey, so what caused you to actually book the call today? Then they're going to go on their spiel about what their business is, and you're going to want to basically just employ really active listening, just make sure that you know exactly why they've come to this call and what problems they have, and then you kind of want to sort of ask these, I guess, implication questions as they go. So, they're sort of saying, oh, hey, well, our email marketing is just not really where we want it to be right now, sort of 10, 15% of our total revenue. And then you would be like, okay, 10, 15% of your revenue. So if we could get it to 30%, that would really change the business, right? And they'll be like, yeah, okay, cool. So, and then you would jump into your next question. So that's kind of how I like to do discovery. Pitch, I like pitching with a deck. I feel like this is just a big belief of mine, but with a deck, it makes what you're selling quite palpable. The issue with these agency businesses is that we are kind of selling thin air in a certain way. Obviously, we are selling people and processes, but when you're using a deck, especially in B2B, it just makes what you're selling a little bit more palpable, like that is what they're buying, the presentation. Then you want to basically get to the end of the pitch and be like, do you have any questions? And then jump into dropping the price, kind of temp check them. So, hey, how does that price land with you? And then, from there, you can go in, answering questions they've got. Answering should be before the price, and then they're obviously going to have objections once you've dropped the price. Usually price is kind of like the last question that they have, so that's when you do that. And then you want to go ahead and objection handle. Now, if we've done all of this right, so all of the marketing stuff that I've just shown you, all of the sales stuff that I've just shown you, we should end up with a show rate of around 70% and a close rate of around 20%. So 20% of your booked calls will become clients, okay? If we are achieving those two metrics, then we want to change absolutely nothing at all. We basically just want to keep upping the ad spend because basically this is a system and money goes in and money comes out, okay? And our job is just not stuff up the part of like the middle stuff and make sure that the money coming out is much more than the money coming in. Ideally 6x the money coming out to the money coming in. Finally, let's jump into fulfillment. So I just have 2 things that I want to cover here for fulfillment. So number 1 is making sure that we productize the service. Okay, so this whole process and this whole like scaling with ads thing, especially to 100K a month, if you want to do that really quickly, it really hinges on your ability to productize your service. And I know you kind of heard that buzzword before. Productize your service. What that basically means though, is that you have a very clear roadmap that every single client goes through, and you just want to make that as close to a factory as possible, okay? If you're doing very custom solutions for every single client, it's going to be very difficult for you to scale. And more importantly, you might have this in your head, but if your team doesn't know this, if your team is not trying to actively make this whole process just like a factory, then you're kind of going to be working against your team. So make sure that you really productize the service and you have what's called a customer journey. Okay, so that's an example of this. I would get it down onto paper. It's going to massively help you. And then once we've got that, we really just want to track the following metrics. We want to make sure that monthly churn is around 10 to 15%. Okay, at a maximum, ideally 10%. And then we want to make sure that 1 in 3 clients is ascending onto an additional high ticket service. Okay, so one thing I would do here when growing a business like this is I would basically have my main service and then I would have one key thing here, one Ascension service. Okay, I'm not going to go and turn into like a full service agency where I'm selling like media buying and creative and CRO. That is, my friends, I've experienced this a very bad idea, because suddenly you have to staff multiple departments and you have to be an expert in multiple things, and the quality of your work just drops. So main service and one Ascension service that ideally complements. Now, luckily, if you're running an email marketing agency, that is pretty much going to be like your SMS marketing. Okay, mainly speaking, it's just a very good upsell. So you can obviously sell SMS campaigns and SMS flows. So you should have a goal to get about 1/3 of the people that sort of buy email onto that. And again, what we're just trying to do here is just have, a $4,000 CAC and turn that into a $40,000 LTV. Okay, so we're going to try and have a 10x CAC to LTV ratio. And then basically, once we have established that, and once we can consistently and repeatedly get that through following this, we basically just want to scale and basically acquire 25 clients as quickly as possible. And that is going to get us to 100K MRR. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Okay, if you did, there is a link, first link in the description. If you want my personal help executing this and going beyond 100K MRR to, $250,000 a month with paid ads, you can book a call with that link. Don't really care if you do or not. I'm also already very busy with consultant clients, but if you want to do that, that's there. If not, no worries. Please just like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.